let's say, for the sake of starting an argument, that God is life, and you are an ape. Okay? Don't worry about the ape thing, we'll get to that. But for this theological discussion, let us try to ask a couple basic questions. Okay, about 150,000 years ago, we're sitting around the fire and talking about sex. And then recently we started talking about God, and it was told to us that 6,000 years ago, God snaps his finger and everything was there. And this concept, of course, was not really proven. It was one of those things that you believe because the authority told you. But let's just assume for half a second that perhaps the authority was jumping to a conclusion that they really shouldn't have jumped to all at once. So if everything on the planet is alive, you could say God created everything on the planet, including humans. If you want to have some things, you can say anything actually. It doesn't make it true, it's fun to think about things. And if we're thinking about God creating things, now the theological question would be, why don't we try to figure out what God is? And the more we learned about life, the more we would know about God. And even if we didn't have to call it God, we could just call it life, and then we would get away from this word that's been so... The word God has actually become poisoned by religions. I can't even say that word anymore. Belief systems. Don't you think? Anyhow, there's a book you should read. And if you had read it 50 years ago when it was written, it wouldn't have had to be all come true like it is now. It's not really a prophecy. It was like 1948 was written not about the future, about the system that was already there. It's a system, the truth be known, the big companies would prefer a dictatorship. It's the way of our capitalistic system. Unfortunately, this economic system has become an economic dictatorship. So actually this falling of the banks... Oh wait a second. The falling of the banks may just save us from tyranny. Okay? We have been in a system of tyranny, of some kind of fascism for a long time. Anyhow, this is from the book, and he quotes Jesus Christ at the start, which may be a little shocking for anybody who's not a Christian, but bear with us if you're not a Christian, because Jesus Christ wasn't a Christian either. All manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven unto men, but blasphemy against the Spirit shall not be forgiven. Whosoever speaketh against the eternal truth in the spirit of men, it shall not be forgiven him, neither in this world, neither in the world to come. Either make the tree good, and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt, and his fruit corrupt. For the tree is known by his fruit, O generation of vipers. That's right out of the Bible. Imagine that, Jesus calling them vipers. And we'll read just the first paragraph, and then the rest you're going to have to read on your own. It is time for men to make a new appraisal of himself. His failure is abject. His plans for the future are infantile. The varied forms of his civilization in this century are smashing each other. In universality and degree, the war he has finally managed to perpetuate... I can't read what the fuck. Anyway, what he's saying is, we're fucking ourselves up, just like we write about it in our silly books we call religious books. Anyhow, he slaughters it pretty good, but you should read it even if you are a Christian, because it shows that you have a little courage to question whether or not they may have jumped to conclusions about what God is. Those fuckers who are robbing you blind. Anyhow, we're not very far away from the time we sat around the fire. We've got all this new science and technology, but we're still apes. The only thing that's different is we got clothes on. And so the point is going to be, don't brush your teeth with... no, that wasn't it. Let me think, I'll get the point. Yeah, this whole concept of don't question what God is, that's bullshit. I mean, if a God is going to be there, then you can examine it. And if it doesn't stand up to examination, well, fuck it. We don't need it. Alright? So, but I don't suggest that the Christians necessarily stop believing in God. Just try to make the concept of God pass to what reality is. And if you do that, then you won't have problems with the pagan people who are actually doing the same thing. So, if you need to have a religion, fine, but we have to tax the churches and we have to tax the synagogues. Sorry, you have to call it a club, and it's a club, it's a fairy tale club, and it probably should even be a warning on the outside that says, warning, this is all about fantasy and fairy tales of the past, and we're here to have a good time and have a club and help each other with businesses and make ourselves feel better than the other club who have some other kind of nonsense they believe in. Come on, this is all getting right out of control. I think we've got to do a lot of waking up real fast, or the whole shithouse is going to go up in flames, you know?